What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, so it is Friday, folks. It is Friday. It is October 19th. It is 11:01 a.m. So we are starting a little bit more on time today. And you know what? I actually hear my trailer sound. So that's beautiful. I don't have to restart the stream as far as that goes. But what I was talking about in chat before we started today's show is I literally have nothing prepared, like absolutely nothing. Normally what I do try to do before these shows is I'll try to grab a few trailers, try to take a look at a few news headlines, and have kind of something to talk about going into a show, some topics to work with. Today I don't have anything, but you know what I thought, well, wait a minute here. The PlayStation VR has been available for 2 full years. And you guys might remember back when I was doing that other show that was more, it wasn't the live stream. When I was doing the old show, I would occasionally have an episode where it was like the state of PlayStation VR, or the state of the Oculus Rift, or the state of the HTC Vive, whatever, something like that, right? And because PlayStation VR is now 2 years old, it has passed its 2-year birthday. Nothing extraordinary happened when that happened, of course. We do have some sales that are going on. But I thought, you know what, I can kind of talk a little bit about the state of PlayStation VR. So that is a topic I have, although I've not prepared anything for that. I'm just going to wing it off the top of my head. But before we get into that, I figure I can kind of check some news, see what's going on, and then worst case scenario, we can go into state of PlayStation VR. So that's kind of my thought process there. And you know what some people are talking about in chat, we were talking a little bit about some PC problems, and my PC problems have continued. They have continued. In fact, check this out, guys. So last night, it was relatively late in the evening last night. Not late, but it was like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. or so. And I thought, you know what, let me try playing something on this 1080 Ti. So far, the only thing I've ever tried was In Death. And last night I played In Death. Not last night, but the night before I played In Death. And it worked pretty well. It was working pretty well. Still having some weird PC issues, but working relatively decently. And so I thought, well, Windlands 2 is a game I continue to play. It's a game that I really love. One of my favorite games of the last 90 days for sure. And so I thought, let me go into Windlands 2, right? By the way, Paradise is checking in. What is up, Paradise? Hussein X is here. What is going on? Charles Van Nolan is in the building as well. Chris, Logan68, Chris Cox, and probably some other people. It's scrolled down a little bit, and I have not popped out my chat, so don't know about that. But what I was going to say is, so I started up my Oculus and wanted to get into my Oculus headset and play some Windlands 2, just screw around, try it out, see what happens, right? And so I went in there and tried to get it running, and I was just in Oculus Home basically, and the tracking was all jacked. Like the tracking was not working right. And so I took my headset off and I went over to my PC and I was like, oh, you know what? It's my Initech USB card, because what I did was I have a little Initech USB card that I got for all the Oculus sensors to make sure my Oculus sensor situation would work out, because I got 4 of these things, right? And so I moved my Initech USB card to this different slot when I had my 1080 Ti in the proper slot. And I think there was something going on with that. My USB card wasn't working right? So I thought, okay, well, I know what I'll do. I'll shut my PC down. I'll shut everything down. I'll open my PC up. I'll take that Initech USB card and I will move it to the slot that it used to occupy for like a year, where I had no problems. It was in another slot, and I thought, okay, let me move it back to its original slot. Okay, so this is all I did, guys. I opened up my PC, I took the Initech card, moved it to the new slot. That was it. Put everything back, turned my PC on, and all I got were black screens on my monitor. I mean, I saw the little BIOS thing at the beginning, hit delete to enter BIOS or whatever it was. I saw those little messages, and then boom, just black screens on both of my monitors. I have dual monitors here. And so I kind of went into a panic. I'm like, oh my God, not this again. And then so I went back to my PC, started it a bunch of different times, tried some different things, tried plugging different things in. Then I removed the USB connector out of there, removed my Initech USB connector completely out of the computer. Tried to turn it on that way. Same problem. Nothing was happening. Then what I finally decided to do, I was like, well, you know what? Let me try just hooking a single monitor up. Just the USB, the HDMI from the back of the GPU to one single monitor. Let me try doing that. And so I did that, and my PC turned on and it went into Windows. So I don't know. It's just a really bizarre thing. So my struggles continue. I don't know why it turned on then. My Initech card is not in my PC right now. I'm going to try, after this show's over with, I'm going to try to put it back in there and hopefully it'll work. But you know what? I do have some good news, folks. I do have some good news. Check this out. This is a Samsung 860 EVO. It's a 500 gig SSD. Everybody's been telling me to get a SSD, and so shut the F up. I got my SSD, 500 gigs. This was a good deal. It was at Fry's Electronics. It was $79.99. It was one of their deals, so went ahead and grabbed that. I have not installed it. It's still in this box. I haven't done anything with it yet. My plan is, after today's show, I'm going to try to go down that road. And I'm hoping with a fresh Windows install on this SSD that maybe some of my problems will get corrected. And of course, another thing that I need to do is I need to go into the BIOS, and I need to overclock my i5 2500K and all that. I need to do all of that stuff as well. But the bottom line, folks, is that eventually things will work out. And the other thing that I'm thinking about too is so I've bought a 1080 Ti, I've bought a power supply, I bought a mini DisplayPort to full-size DisplayPort cable, I bought some cans of compressed air, and I've bought this SSD. So I've been buying a number of things. And so the way I wasn't planning on buying all this stuff, didn't want to buy all this stuff. All I wanted to buy was the 1080 Ti. I didn't want to buy anything else. But I've gotten all this other stuff, and just plug your PS4 in. But basically, my thought process at this point, see, Paradise Decay says, dude, you've almost got a new PC. That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. So right now, the only thing I need is a brand new motherboard, a brand new CPU, an aftermarket heatsink, the proper memory, and I'm good to go, right? I mean, what else do I need? I would be good to go at that point, right? So it seems like I'm slowly but surely moving down the road. And the nice thing about this is, if I can kind of piecemeal this thing together, then it's not so much of a boom explosion of $1,500 or whatever. It's not this explosion. It's kind of slowly but surely. So that's kind of my thought process. And actually, yesterday, don't call me Shirley. That's Charles Van Nolan checking in. But what I was going to say is, yesterday, when my PC went dead again last night, and I was actually talking to Simplex PL. We were kind of chatting back and forth in DMs or private messages on Reddit about my situation. And when I left him, nothing was working. I was like, dude, I'm ready to just freaking give up on this whole entire thing. But it got back to working. But I started looking up CPUs, and I started looking up motherboards. I haven't looked at RAM yet at all. I know I need 16 gigs of RAM. I figure if I'm going to get, like, if I do get a new motherboard, and if I go down this whole entire road, like a complete rebuild, basically, I figure 16 gigs of RAM, right? But I have no idea, like, how much is 16 gigs of RAM? I have no clue. I've always been the type of guy, in terms of motherboards, what I'll say, I've always been the type of guy that would dedicate about $150 towards motherboards. And you know what? T-Dub is checking in and he says, dude, Black Friday, Black freaking Friday. And you know what? We are now at October 19th. Black Friday is not that far away. It's funny when anybody mentions something like Black Friday, like that seems like so far off into the distance, like Black Friday, really? But Black Friday is not that far away at all. So maybe I could wait till Black Friday and try to get some of this stuff. Simplex PL says Ryzen 2700X. I've always been an Intel guy. I'm partial to Intel because, see, the thing is, if you go down the Ryzen path, right, you're going to get an AMD type motherboard if you go down that path. And I don't know, man, I've always just been kind of the Intel guy. So I don't know. That's something to think about. And Terry Blanchard is saying 16 gigs is standard now and the RAM speed 2800 megahertz. Okay, so is it DDR3? Is it DDR4? DDR5? I don't know. I mean, I have not been in the market for RAM in forever, so I'm not sure. So how much, Terry Blanchard, how much is 16 gigs of RAM, 2800 megahertz in USA prices? Okay, so we're on DDR4. Okay, so it's DDR4 now, 2800 megahertz, 16 gigs of RAM, and I know like Corsair and some of the different brands. And Simplex PL says, dude, Intel prices suck. In fact, you know what? Let me go ahead, and I was looking last night. See, I have a Fry's Electronics that's relatively close to me. I've been there like 5 times in the last couple of days, or in the last week or so. I've been over to Fry's a number of times. And I was looking at the Intel CPUs, and I was trying to see, okay, what's going on with these Intel CPUs? Like, what is the story here with these Intel CPUs? And I'll show you guys kind of the prices and stuff that I was looking at. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my other thing here. Okay, so here we are on Fry's.com, and, you know, here's some prices here, right? And I was looking here, and I saw some deals. At first, I went down here and look at Intel Core i5 6600K, $199.99. It's on sale, right? But you know what? This is sold out everywhere. They don't have it anywhere. They don't have it at any Fry's. They can't ship it to me. This is a clearance, and it just is simply unavailable. So I cannot get this deal for this i5 6600K if I were to go down that path. But what I could get, now this is on sale. I don't know if this is any good, but this is an i5 8400. An i5 8500. It is not a K, and this is $199. Their regular price is $240. They got an instant savings of $41. You save $41, and the price is good through tomorrow at 9 p.m. tomorrow. Limit 1 per household, and they actually have one of these in stock. This i5 8500. They have this in stock. $200. And then what else was I looking at? There's another one that I was looking at. Well, there's this one. Here's an i5 7600K. This one is $229. So anyway, I was kind of looking at these different Intel CPUs, and I don't know that I'm going to go down that road, but these are some possibilities. I was thinking about some of those possibilities, but normally what I would do is I would take $150 and I would bookmark that for the motherboard. And I would basically try to get the most banging ass motherboard I could possibly get for $150 out the door. That's usually what I would try to do. A highly recommended motherboard. And the motherboard that I have from 2011, that Asus P8, P67, That was a champion of a motherboard back in the spring of 2011. That was a really good motherboard. That was the one that a lot of people were really recommending back in those days on like NeoGAF and all that stuff. And so usually I'll, about 150 towards the motherboard, about 300 towards the CPU and the heat sink. And so that takes me to 450, and then I would need the RAM. And I wasn't looking G.Skill lifetime warranty. Yeah, G.Skill RAM. I wasn't looking here in terms of how much 16 gigs of RAM is. But, it's almost like, it's like another 600 bones. It's like another 600 bones, really, that I would have to throw out this. I'm already 600 in. This would take me to damn near 1,300 if I went down that road. So I don't know. I'm a little bit sketch about that. I really don't want to do that. I'm still going to try to do this Windows thing. I'm going to try to do the Windows thing, see if I can get that going, and just go down that road. So anyways, now what we could do here, a lot of people in chat are talking about the IndieGala Bundle, or the Indie Hundo, blah, blah, blah. I cannot speak. What is going on here? The IndieGala Bundle, whatever, the bundle, right? There is a bundle that is going on out there. I saw this on the Vive subreddit. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, actually. So let me go ahead and switch over to this video window here. So yeah, if you pay basically $4 or more, you can get Drunken Bar Fight on Halloween. You get Invoker. You get a 56% off coupon for Super Hot. Of course, almost everybody and their mom already owns Super Hot. You get Night Night. Now, Night Night is, of all these games that you get, Unruly Ghouls, The World of Virtual Reality VR, Science, The World is in Your Hands, The Tavern of Magic, Conjurer's Eye, Crash Lander. Like, I have not heard of most of these games. I have heard of Night Night, and I'm mildly interested in Night Night. And Drunken Bar Fight on Halloween, I don't know. Invoker, I've actually tried Invoker, and I don't think I was really into that. But that is the deal that is going on as far as the Indie Humble Bundle thing that's going on over there. Sometimes these deals are pretty good. Sometimes you can get some pretty good stuff as far as that goes. Okay, and then the other thing I was going to check out here before we maybe get into some PlayStation VR, like the state of PlayStation VR kind of talk, is I thought, well, why don't we bounce over to Upload VR? Let's just see what the newest stories are for the day and check that out really quick. And on Upload VR, the Vive wireless adapter review, the best VR of 2018, is too expensive. Haven't read this report. But, a lot of the things about this Vive wireless adapter, it does appear that it gets incredibly hot. So you have to figure out some kind of little mod that you're going to do so you don't light your scalp on fire or burn your hair off. And then the other thing is people talk about performance issues. Like they actually have a little bit of a performance hit when using this Vive wireless adapter. So it still seems like we are not in a situation yet where we have wireless for any of these headsets that really work exactly the way you would want it to work. There seems to still be a trade-off situation that is going on. Okay, another story they have is Oculus CTO John Carmack has settled all of his legal disputes with Bethesda. That is good news. It's good news everywhere around. I'm sure it is a hell of a relief for John Carmack to not have something hanging over his head like that, no matter whether or not it would ever go down that road, whether he would ever suffer from this. It's still, when you have a lawsuit that is looming over your head, it's not a fun thing. And I'm sure it kind of weighed on him in the background. So he's got to be pleased about that. Accounting Plus is currently available. I'm curious, did anybody out there pick this up yesterday? What are your thoughts? Do you like it? I have not checked this out at all. I have not tried it. I kind of like the humor and the style that they have going on with Accounting Plus, but I haven't picked that up. So I haven't picked it up yet myself. And then, of course, Steam VR, the motion smoothing. Some people are ranting and raving about the motion smoothing on the Vive subreddit. A lot of people are having a really good situation with that, but other people are saying, it's not quite ready for prime time. They've tried it a little bit, but now they're going to go back off of it. So I don't know. It's kind of back and forth as far as that goes. And let's see what folks are talking about over here in chat. Oh, Terry Blanchard says, for $450, I can get a Ryzen 2700X plus a B350 motherboard, plus 70 to spend on SSD. Terry, I have an SSD. It is here. It is the Samsung 860 EVO. It's only 500 gigs. I mean, I would have liked a 1 terabyte drive, but this was $80. And for $80, I felt like it was a good deal. So I went ahead and went down that road. So I have the SSD. Paradise Decay is saying, hey man, Hover Junkers is having a free weekend this weekend on Steam. And if my computer was operational, that's something I wouldn't mind trying, because I have never, ever played Hover Junkers. Ever. Never. Never played Hover Junkers. I wouldn't mind trying that out. I have a feeling, though, that I'm probably going to be screwing around with like Windows and all this shit most of this weekend. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to enjoy that this weekend, unfortunately. My hopes are within another week or so, I'll be back to normal. One way or another, I will have to be back to normal at that point is my feeling. So that's my hope there. Let's see, what else? Okay, yeah, we were talking about the motion smoothing. People are kind of a little bit, some people are hyped on that, some people not so hyped. And then let me go ahead and bounce over to the Vive subreddit real quick. It's funny. We're 23 minutes into the show. I have not mentioned anything about the state of PSVR, even though that was something I was planning on talking about. But I figure we can just wait until things kind of crash out. We don't have anything else to talk about. Then we could go to the PlayStation VR. Paradise Decay says, too many games, Anthony. I did play the Wardust Alpha. Incredible. So really, it's like Battlefield. Was it all of your dreams wrapped into one? Yeah, there really are too many games. Although there has been a bit of a slowdown in the month of October. I mean, Evasion came out. I never played Evasion. We never got a code for Evasion. Like VR Roundtable didn't get a code. I didn't get a code. Never tried that game out. And really, the only game that I've tried recently was Mind Labyrinth VR Dreams. So, but yeah, Wardust. A lot of times when these people have betas and stuff, I oftentimes don't get into the betas, just because I figure, well, I'll wait till it's a little bit farther along. That's usually my style as far as that goes. But let's go ahead and check out the Vive subreddit real quick. And bouncing over to the Vive subreddit, Payday 2 is currently 85% off, and it's bundled with every DLC option that they have. And I gotta say, guys, Payday 2, I don't know, man. I've never got into Payday 2. I know, like, when Payday 2 first hit for VR, and people were just ranting and raving. They're like, oh my God, Payday 2, this is so awesome, and all that stuff. And I got in it a couple of times, and I was walking around inside the world. Now, again, I was on my 970, so maybe it would play a little bit better now. But I just never got, it's too hectic for me. Just never got into the Payday thing. So that's my take on that. There is, Steam VR Beta Update 2. There's going to continue to be, I'm sure, updates. Some people are getting errors. If you get error 306 with Steam VR Beta, try installing Natural Locomotion. So there's a lot of talk here about Steam VR Beta performance being good, bad, and other things and stuff like that. This guy's saying incredibly impressed with new reprojection systems. So some people are really, really blown away by that. Here's an interesting thread. Late 2018 and 2019 titles that you're interested in. And I got to think that Population 1 might be a big one. Okay, Stormlands, of course. Firmament. Some people are talking about Firmament. The 3 promised Valve games. That is bizarro world to me. How many years ago, whoops, didn't mean to go back to fries. How many years ago did we find out about the 3 Valve games? Like, wouldn't you have imagined that one of these 3 Valve games would have come out by now? One of them? Wouldn't one of them come out? It is kind of bizarro land that we still don't have one of these 3 Valve games, although one of them is going to come when they have Knuckles. So I guess we just have to wait for Knuckles. So it could be a situation where Knuckles isn't 100% ready yet. That could be part of the problems there. Hover Junkers is 80% off. You can grab it for $7, and it's free to play for 3 more days, like we heard, of course, in chat. And I was just trying to see if there's anything else that's popping off here on the Vive subreddit. That's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and see. Oh, DLG27 says, Anthony, did you ever play Farpoint with your aim? No, I haven't. Because what happened is I got Firewall 0 Hour with the aim controller. And then right around that time is when an absolute avalanche of games just was hammering me. And so I kind of forgot about the whole thing. I haven't even been into Firewall 0 Hour in a long time, and I was enjoying that. I was enjoying the immersion. I was really enjoying the 3D audio. And then, of course, Astrobot. Like, if I'm going to turn on my PlayStation VR, I'm probably going to play Astrobot. I'm still in Astrobot. I think I'm in the final world now. But I do want to buy Farpoint. Absolutely. I'll probably just buy a physical copy, like a used one on eBay, something like that. Paradise Decay says, does Hover Junkers have a good single player? Does Hover Junkers have any kind of a single player? See, the whole thing about Hover Junkers is it's this room scale thing, right? And you have another person in your room scale, and it's basically you and another dude walking around, right? Isn't that pretty much what it's all about? As far as Hover Junkers, never actually played it. Kev Gret says, has anyone played The Assembly? I played it last night and was surprised on how decent the game is. Yeah, I have heard some good things about The Assembly. I have here and there. And DLG27 says, it's on sale for $12 something now till the 23rd. You're probably talking about on PSN. It's on sale. I think there's a lot of physical copies that are floating out there on eBay because so many people bought the eBay Farpoint bundle and they've played maybe Farpoint like a couple of different times and they're done with it. And because it was the bundled in game, I think there are a lot of them. So I probably would just grab a physical copy just because, that would be fine. I don't mind that. So I don't know if I'll get the digital version, but yeah, I definitely do need to play Farpoint pretty soon. But why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about PlayStation VR? I'm going to switch up this trailer. I've been letting this thing run for about 20 minutes here. Let me see if I can find another. Let's see, what other PlayStation VR trailer can I throw on here? I'll just throw About a Blood trailer on in the background. And the Persistence is on sale in the UK for £15.50, and it just did have a pretty big update. So the Persistence is having up. That's another game I really need to go back into, and I need to screw around with it, and might have an opportunity to do that. Yeah, Persistence is really solid. It's kind of scary. I like the audio. It basically, if you really like Dead Space and you've kind of wanted Dead Space VR, Persistence gets close to that. Not quite, but close. And I'm a fan of Persistence. For that price, not a bad deal. Okay, so I was going to talk about PlayStation VR, kind of the state of PlayStation VR in these last 2 years. And one of the things, oops, I went to the wrong place here. Hold on one second. One of the things that we have to think about in regards to PlayStation VR is we have to understand the situation that Sony was in when they decided to bring out the PlayStation VR in the first damn place. And one of the issues that Sony had to deal with is they knew they were going to bring this add-on. They had these Move controllers, and they've been using this single camera. And so they basically decided to create a VR setup that would be the lowest entry possible, where they could try to get it in at the right price and get it out there and use basically existing technology, kind of package everything together with their single camera, the Move controllers, the DualShock with the light. Remember when PS4 first came out? Remember when we first got our PlayStation 4s and we were looking at the DualShock 4 and we're looking at this light and we're like, why the hell do they have a light on here? Like, what is the idea behind that? And then, of course, like 1 year later, I think it was at GDC 1 year later, we found out about Project Morpheus, and then we realized why that light was there in the first place. And, you know, when we play games like Astrobot, Pixel Ripped 1989, Moss, and a number of these other games, having an actual tracked controller is pretty huge. I really think it is pretty huge. That is one nice thing that PlayStation VR does have going for them right now. Paradise Decay says, at VR Game Rankings, I don't know if you saw the new tested video. They rated both Astrobot and Firewall Zero Hour very high. They say Astrobot has set the bar for VR platformers. Yeah, I continue to be blown away by Astrobot, and without question, I am going back to my original day one take on Astrobot. I was right the very first time. I did not need to back away from that. The most recent levels I was playing in Astrobot, there's a level, I think it's called Bots and Ghouls or something like that. It's kind of like a Ghouls and Ghosts level. It's almost like a Halloween level. I was in that level. And then there's like a Japanese like dojo level or something like that where you're flicking your shurikens and you're chopping down like these bamboo trees and you're jumping around from place to place. That's kind of, I'm not sure, I'm right around there in Astrobot. Haven't completely finished Astrobot, and it is absolutely magnificent. I mean, it is just absolutely incredible. One of the best VR games of all time, no question about it. But I mean, going back to PlayStation VR, 2 years of PlayStation VR, I really think, and wait, let's get this question from Chris Cox. He's saying, do you think Sony made the tracked PS4 controllers just for VR? Pretty much. Yes, I do. Because remember when we first got it and everybody was like, man, this annoying light. I was actually pissed off when I first got my PlayStation 4. I didn't know, we didn't know that Morpheus was coming. We didn't know they had anything like that. And I was pissed off because, guys, do you see that big white screen back there? When I first got my PlayStation 4, I believe it's November 2013 is when it came out, right? In November of 2013, I was still watching movies on this gigantic ass screen that's back here. I had a projector that was right up there. And I hooked my PlayStation 4 up to my projector, and I was playing PS4 games on this gigantic ass 128-inch screen that I have over there. You can't even see all of it, right? And you know what bothered the hell out of me? I'm in this dark ass room. I'm having a theater experience, and this freaking blue light on my controller is shining, and it's like taking me out of the experience on the screen. You know, because it's glowing so damn brightly in my dark room. In fact, I believe I took some electric tape and like cut it out in like the triangle shape of that, the little light thing. And I put it on my controller just to try to block that light. Do you guys remember way back at the beginning of the arrival of PlayStation 4, people were making these little designs that would snap onto where your light is that would block most of the light, and they made like these little symbols and stuff. People were selling them on eBay. People didn't understand, like, is there some way I can disable this light? I can turn off this light. And then of course at GDC, when Project Morpheus was unveiled, it was like, boom, you know, a light bulb went off. We realized, oh, I get it. They want to track this controller in 3D space. It makes a lot of sense. And it's a great idea. Honestly, if we look at the Oculus Rift, we look at the HTC Vive, what advantage does PlayStation VR have over those two systems? And that tracked controller is a major advantage. It really is a legitimate advantage. And people will make the argument, oh, but if you have Oculus Touch, it's basically a DualShock 4 that's been chopped in half. Yeah, but it's been chopped in half. And it just doesn't feel the same. When these hands are floating around, it doesn't feel the same. When it's one solid object, it feels better. Like I was playing Pixel Ripped 1989 on my Oculus Rift with my touch controllers, and I'm trying to imagine, having this Game Boy thing and moving this Game Boy around, and it was like, I actually went back to using a wired Xbox 360 controller playing Pixel Ripped 1989 on my Oculus Rift because I had too much of a disconnect with those two controllers being chopped in half. It was a disconnect. It didn't work for me. Okay, let me change this trailer because this has been going forever. Let me see if I can find another trailer here. Hold on just a minute. Ladies and... Oh, I could put a firewall trailer on. We're talking PlayStation VR, so I'll throw a firewall trailer on here. And Paradise Decay says, Red Matter is the closest game to use your controllers in-game like Astrobot does. Well, Red Matter, yeah, it's nice how Red Matter really has your controllers in the game. It is impressive how they do that. But see, the thing that is so cool about Astrobot, and Logan68 is also mentioning that he loves this speaker in the control pad. Yeah, having that little speaker in there, that is a bonus as well. And I think Astrobot uses that at times in the game. Like when those little guys are jumping into the controller, it makes a little sound right there. I mean, it's just so beautiful, so magical. All the little things these little guys do, those little Astrobot guys. You know what? Going back to Astrobot, I got to ask this question for anybody out there that has played Astrobot. When you first turn on Astrobot and you're just in the screen where it says Astrobot Rescue Mission and it says X to continue, and then it has start new game, just that title screen, right? And there's 6 little Astrobot guys that are in different spaces. Has anybody noticed that one Astrobot that is sitting right in the middle is just absolutely chilling? He is just absolutely kicking it. He's just sitting there. I think he has his arms like this, and he's just kind of laying back, and he's just looking at you. He's just looking at you, and every once in a while he blinks, and his chest is going up and down, showing that he's breathing, and he's just lounging. And then you have the other little Astrobot guy that is way up on top of everything, and he's doing all these crazy dances. And then you have that other little Astrobot guy that's hanging by his, by barely a thread. He's hanging on, and then you got some other little Astrobots over there on this. But just the freaking title screen. Yeah, Paradise Decay says one of the little bots is also doing the floss. Yeah, I wonder if I could find just an image of the Astrobot title screen because it is so adorable. It's so cute. It's something that you probably wouldn't notice. I just happened to notice it, and it's funny because that one Astrobot guy that is in the middle that is just lounging, he's just laying back and he's just looking, he's almost trying to be seductive and shit. He's almost trying to be a sexy little Astrobot. It's so funny. It's so cute. Astrobot Rescue Mission. Let me see if I can, just looking at some images, if I can find the title screen where it shows all the little bots that are sitting. And of course, I'm not going to be able to find this. Let me just go, let me try Astrobot Rescue Mission, title screen. But it's so cute. It's so freaking adorable. Really is. Actually, here's a great question in regards to the whole Astrobot thing. How big of a deal is Astrobot in Japan? Because it should be a really, 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 really big deal, I would think, in Japan. Because Japanese, I mean, I don't mean to stereotype, but don't Japanese people really love cute and adorable stuff? Don't they love cute and adorable stuff? And there's nothing cuter and there's nothing more adorable than this game Astrobot, really. I mean, they are so cute. They are so adorable. The little guys... When you save the little guys, I'm looking, I'm trying to find a picture of it, but not finding a picture. Okay, never mind. But when you see the little guys and you save them, when you save the little guys and they go zzz, they go flying around and then they zip into your controller and then they jump out and they wave at you. And sometimes, one of the little Astrobot guys has lipstick on his face where he got kissed. Sometimes they're wearing little hats. It's just so wonderful, so amazing, and it works well on even a vanilla PlayStation VR, which is, vanilla PlayStation 4 as well. Okay, so what people are talking about in chat, yeah, Bed for You Too and GameCat say, I just smile when I play it. It is literally a smile generator. And the soundtrack is so good, it makes it more enjoyable as well. Kevgret says, how long until Sony makes the Astrobot limited edition controller? Probably not very long at all. Terry Blanchard says, is so cute. He's the one that remains for the player to control, though. Anthony, the next time you play Astro, try hitting your main bot in the space menu section. Oh yeah, I'm always smacking them and making them fly around. I do all kinds of things with these little guys, and just incredibly adorable. I love it when sometimes you're playing Astrobot and you get him like standing on a ledge in the game world, but he's relatively close to you, and you can take your head and you get closer to it, and it's like a hologram, man. That little Astrobot guy, I mean, he's right there. It looks clean and it looks crisp. It is just done so well. So, one thing that we can talk about, though, is we can talk about the tracking, because that is the biggest negative with PlayStation VR. The tracking is a problem. And when we think about PlayStation VR 2, or we think about PS5, and we think about where are they going to go from here? One of the issues that Sony is dealing with is they're using a single camera for tracking. And a lot of people have said, well, why can't we add another camera? The problem with adding another camera to PlayStation VR is having wires going. It just doesn't work. PlayStation VR is meant to be a living room product. It's meant to be in your living room. It's meant to be played by your entire family. And so they've gone with this idea of just having this one camera. And so they're limited. They're limited from that standpoint. Now, the nice thing about Astrobot, though, going back to Astrobot, have you guys noticed when you're playing Astrobot, it makes that outline of your headset with the lights and with your DualShock 4 controller, and you position your body so that you get your lights positioned exactly how it's positioned. You get your DualShock 4 position, and then it goes, ring, it makes like a jingling noise, and you're really locked in. And if you stay in that position, you're pretty well dialed in. It really works quite well. So the developers, Japan Studio, they've worked around the limitations. You don't really have tracking problems with Astrobot unless you start playing it like this, and then all of a sudden you're like laying down and you're in a different position, and then you make it hard for it. But they've done a pretty good job. Greg's VR says PSVR 2 will surely be inside out. Chris Cox says inside out tracking for sure. Now, I would like to believe this, and we hope for this. It makes a lot of sense that they would go to inside out tracking. It certainly makes a lot of sense. We've seen Microsoft have some success with the Windows mixed reality platform and the inside out tracking there. We know that Oculus, of course, has their Oculus Quest, which uses inside-out tracking. And from all the hands-on impressions that we've gotten from people that tried the Oculus Quest, it seems to work pretty well. But one of the things I caution people with is it's very difficult to come out with an inside-out tracking solution when you've never done it before, your very first attempt. Now, I know Oculus is doing that with the Oculus Quest. They don't have a product right now that has inside-out tracking. The Oculus Quest is their first product that is going to have inside-out tracking. But one of the things that we have to remember about Oculus is they have an entire campus. They have Facebook reality, I forget what it's called, but they have all these people, they have all these engineers that they've hired. They've hired so many people, so many very smart, highly intelligent, highly motivated, really dedicated people that are banging away on these problems. Brilliant individuals like John Carmack and Michael Abrash. I mean, they got so many people under their umbrella that are working on all these problems, and they've been working on them for a number of years with just endless amounts of investment pouring into it, like spared no expense. You know what I mean? Like spared no expense. Peruvian sea bass, Jurassic Park, spared no expense, and they're banging away on it. And what I don't know is Sony really spending that much money and having that many technicians banging away on inside out tracking? Like, will their next gen inside out tracking work as good as Quest works? Will it work as good as Windows mixed reality works right now with that first generation HoloLens technology? I don't know. I kind of wonder about it. And I kind of feel like, I almost feel like you need two different cracks at inside out tracking. Like, I'm really excited for the arrival of generation 2 of Windows mixed reality, like a new generation of Windows mixed reality. The reference design is what I'm talking about. Like, Microsoft came out with a reference design. They had Lenovo and Acer and Samsung and all these other headset manufacturers. I mean, all these other companies make headsets based off their reference design. And what they used was they used HoloLens. Basically, they used the HoloLens tracking system in their reference design for Windows Mixed Reality version 1. What I'm excited for is version 2, because you know they've learned so much from having that very first attempt. And I really believe it's going to be very similar with Oculus and the Quest. I'm kind of more excited about Quest number 2 because I know they're going to learn so much from their first attempt at having inside out tracking in a real consumer product. It's almost like you need to bring something out, you need to have something out there, and then it's your follow-up that really gets improved. And so that's where I'm a little bit concerned with PlayStation VR going to an inside out tracking. So that's how you spend 7 minutes talking about virtually nothing on that. And Crunchy says, I am sure PSVR is almost to 4 million units sold. TreyVR says that's all Sony needs is wireless inside out. A huge graphic upgrade is not needed for them now. You know, one thing I've thought about, guys, and one thing I've pondered is, what if Sony, would people be really upset with this? Like, imagine if PSVR 2 has nothing to do with PlayStation 5. What if PSVR 2 was standalone? And here's the thing, it has a Snapdragon 845 in it, okay? And it basically can run vanilla level PSVR games with no wires, and it's self-contained. It's all in one. Inside out tracking, it's a headset. You got your two controllers. There's nothing else. There are no wires. But here's the downside. All you can play is regular PSVR games like Astrobot, like Resident Evil 7, like Skyrim VR, like Firewall Zero Hour. You can play those games, but it's like a vanilla PlayStation 4, not even a PlayStation 4 Pro, but it's 100% standalone. And Terry Blanchard says, ooh, standalone. Would love to see that. And Chris Cox says, Sony won't go standalone. Greg's VR says, no way. PSVR 2 will not be standalone. It's not going to happen. And I don't know. I'm kind of like torn. I'm kind of conflicted because I almost think like that would be the best way for them to go. But then at the same time, you don't get this graphical upgrade that everybody's dreaming about. But the thing about a graphical upgrade, though, is just how far is their graphical upgrade going to go? Because Sony's not going to have a hammerhead shark. You know, they're not going to know 170 degrees or anything like that. So I don't know, like, how high end will their next headset be? Now, the one thing we do have to remember, though, with Sony is a display company. They've been involved with displays. They've been involved with sound design. They know this type of shit inside and out. They know it so well. They know it like the back of their hands. And so the one hope that I have, PSVR 2, because our current PSVR, it's one screen. We don't have legit IPD adjustment on PSVR. So hopefully they'll go to two screens, OLED, Maybe they'll give us a curved screens for that bigger field of view, eye tracking. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen, guys? But isn't it amazing that I literally had nothing to talk about today, and I've made it all the way into, it is now 11:51. So I've been going for about 50 minutes, even though I had no preparation for this show and winged it out of my beep. Okay, so Lethal Weasel VR. I think PSVR 2 may be wireless, but I don't think it will be standalone. Yeah, we gotta hope. We really gotta hope it'll be wireless. Although, I mean, Chris Cox says one cable that will connect from the PS5 and then inside out tracking. So more like Windows mixed reality, like not 100% wireless. Because I don't know, how do you beam a signal from the PS5 to the PSVR 2 headset without having tremendous degradation and latency and all of that? I don't know how they're going to do that. Chris Cox says they won't go wireless. They will want to keep the costs down. But what about Xbox, Chris Cox? Because Sony has to realize that Microsoft is eventually going to make a play into this VR thing. Eventually, Microsoft is going to make a play. And Phil Spencer has said all along that they're thinking wireless. They're thinking wireless in the living room. And I kind of don't confuse wireless with inside out. Yeah. They could do inside out and then still have the wire. Going back to the PS5, very similar to Windows Mixed Reality. That's what Windows Mixed Reality isn't wireless. You just don't need to put lighthouses anywhere or cameras or sensors or all that, but it still has a cord. There still is a cord that you can potentially trip over, and PSVR is a living room product. Now, Chris Gould brings up an interesting point here. Sony will not risk having people walking around in VR. And if they did make something like the Quest, and that's something that all of these VR companies, they need to consider this. This is a real consideration, the liability. We go back to the old liability thing. I remember back in the days, I used to think Oculus would never do room scale. Oculus would only do front facing because I thought that Zuckerberg was scared to death of potential litigation from a standpoint of somebody walking around. Somebody has a 2-story house. Some of these 2-story houses, you have like a room that's upstairs that would be a good room for VR. But if you kept walking and walking and walking, and then there's like a railing, right? Boom, you flip over 14 feet down, bam, you smack your head, you die. There is a potential lawsuit. So litigation, worrying about that. And that's something that Oculus is going to have to be concerned with. We've seen these videos of people going out to football fields, people going out to soccer fields and playing freaking Quake 1, just walking wherever, playing Doom, real life Doom, and just walking around wherever. And when you give somebody something like the Oculus Quest, you're allowing them to kind of F around and do certain things like that. Go out into the backyard, try to play their Oculus Quest in the backyard. And anytime your vision is completely obscured and there's different objects, you can trip over something. So it's going to be interesting how all these companies navigate these issues. Chris Cox says, Microsoft, they're falling behind. Sony already have a lot of exclusives and studio making VR content. Yeah, Microsoft is falling so far behind. I can go over here to my web browser with small video window. This is the top 100 PlayStation VR games currently available. Now, this was last updated a little bit over a month ago, so it doesn't have Astrobot on here. Some of the more recent releases haven't been updated, but look at these games. I mean, they've got a solid library of games. Skyrim, Resident Evil, Firewall. Rec Room plays pretty well on PSVR. Wipeout, let's not forget Wipeout Omega Collection. A lot of you guys that recently grabbed a PlayStation VR just so you can experience Astrobot, have you guys tried Wipeout? Because goddamn, Wipeout is great. Farpoint, Job Simulator works pretty good on PSVR. Super Hot, a great translation. Moss, To the Top, PSVR Worlds, Until Dawn, Star Trek, Batman, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they've got a lot of good stuff. Invisible Hours, Robinson the Journey works well. Static, Thumper, Bound is awesome. Tumble VR, Pixel Rip. They've got games going up. Well, here's Astrobot, but this is actually the Playroom VR. Dino Frontier, Exorcist, Torn, Accounting Plus, Polybius, Battlezone. You know, all these games, it just doesn't stop. Apex Construct, 2MD VR Football. Look at this huge, giant library. See, the one thing that Sony has going for them in terms of a battle, in terms of a head-to-head battle with Microsoft, Sony has this gigantic library of existing games that they're developing. And one of the concerns that they will have to navigate, though, when they go to PSVR 2, they want this back library of games to work. And so what they're probably going to have to do with their inside out tracking, or whatever system they're going to use for PSVR 2, they're going to have to try to create some type of emulator type of thing that will convert all these existing games to work with their new tracking, to somehow translate it to their new tracking, because these games for PSVR, they were designed for optical tracking with the Move controllers or the DualShock 4, and they were designed with the limitations of the current PSVR. And when they go to this new inside-out tracking, they've got to bring this back library of games with them, because that is a huge, giant advantage. Because there's going to be a point where Xbox is going to have a legit VR product going head-to-head with Sony's legit VR product, and Sony will have this ace in the hole in terms of having this gigantic library of pre-existing games. And it goes back to Microsoft too, because Microsoft, they really are kind of screwed in certain ways, because it's not as easy. Like, a lot of people don't understand why doesn't Microsoft just add just make the Samsung Windows mixed reality headset work with the Xbox One X. They're done. It's all good. They've got it. That's all they got to do. Just make the Samsung Odyssey work, rebrand it, put Xbox logos on it, and make it available for the Xbox One X. But what people fail to realize is, if you're a platform holder like Microsoft, you need an entire library of VR games. Greg's VR says, imagine Microsoft launching VR in the next Xbox with Halo and other big IP titles. PSVR's lead is delicate. But here's my point, Greg's VR. It is not easy. It is not easy at all for Microsoft to get all these developers, to get an entire cachet of developers banging away on VR titles in the background. That shit is not easy. That is a freaking ask. Look at how long it took Sony to get some killer apps. Wipeout, Omega Collection, and Astrobot are probably there, and Firewall Zero Hour. It took them a while to get these games. They're not going to instantly have them. Xbox is underpowered. They'll surely want a Forza VR. Yeah, I mean, Xbox is going to get there, but I'm telling you, it's a lot easier said than done, because as the platform holder, they need like 20 VR games. They have to launch with 20 VR games. They can't just launch with one or two. And it's not easy. A lot of these studios that Microsoft has that are in their pocket, basically, these guys have never done any VR of any kind. Now, hopefully, they're all working on VR games right now. Hopefully, all of their key teams inside Xbox, like their best development teams, hopefully they've partitioned 25, 30 of their programmers off into a little stealth team that has been working on Halo VR all these years, because that's what they're going to need. And Airman 929565 says it's frickin' Microsoft. They'll be able to do it. Don't worry about it. Chris Gould says, I see zero interest from Microsoft in VR. They have dropped it. They have bigger problems. Well, we've seen zero interest from them up until this point in time. But the one thing we got to remember, man, is that Microsoft, they gambled. They gambled by not having VR. And I'm going to throw on just a miscellaneous thing that has a little bit of Microsoft on the background here. This is the Adam Orth montage that I made a long time ago when, I guess, what was this, when he left to go to Firewall Zero Hour, or when he left? This guy loves to go to new companies and then leave. That's kind of what he does. But there's some Microsoft backgrounds on here, so it makes sense. But Going back to Microsoft, man, they dodged a major bullet because they gambled. It was a huge gamble for them not to have a VR solution for all of these years. They've gambled and it's paid off for them. It's paid off because think of all the headaches that Sony has had to deal with their PSVR. Yeah, they've sold 4 million of them, but think of how much investment they've put into it. Think of all the support nightmares they've had to deal with. I mean, I'm sure it's kind of like holding its own now, but I don't know that Sony's um, making money just ridiculously off their PSVR. And Microsoft has dodged all of that. They've stayed out of it. They've just said, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're just not even tripping. And they've been able to bow out of it. Now, at some point, they have to have something. At some point, they have to know that they have to either have an AR or VR product at some point in time. They can't get away with this forever. We're moving to VR and AR. It's unmistakable. It is a it's a runaway train. There's no stopping it. It's simply a matter of when. Now, Microsoft has gambled. They've gambled with this idea that they could get away with avoiding it for a number of years, and it's paid off. But hopefully they have their studios lined up. Hopefully they have a bunch of people working on some VR stuff so that when they bring out their new system, they'll have a library of 20, 25 games that they can rally behind. Gears of War VR, a freaking Crackdown VR, a Halo VR. They'll have a couple key major franchises. And you know what? Paradise Decay says Xbox have missed the boat, but I guarantee you, if you see a badass Gears of War in VR or a Halo in VR, I mean, imagine Halo, holding that gun and seeing Master Chief standing right there, and you're going through the jungle, Primordian style, and it looks really good, and they've got inside-out tracking, and their inside-out tracking is going to be probably the best in the business because they've been working on it for so long with HoloLens. They could have best in the business, best in their industry, inside-out tracking, even better than anything Oculus has when they finally bring that to Xbox. The problem Microsoft has, though, is how much are consumers willing to spend, and it's going to be so hard for them to create a wireless headset with inside-out tracking and all of these niceties and then price it for regular everyday consumers, because consumers, you go above $499.99 and no one's going to fucking buy it. And then if the next Xbox system is like $499 and their headset's $499, that's $1,000. It's a real heavy ask. So it's going to be so interesting. The console VR market is super interesting. And the arrival of Quest next spring is going to kick a lot of this stuff off. The arrival of the Oculus Quest is going to put a fire under Microsoft's ass and Sony, because Oculus is moving into their freaking territory. They really are. This standalone Oculus Quest could be at a Best Buy. It could be at Target. It could be at Walmart. It is an all-in-one solution. I guarantee you this is a major threat for the future of Xbox and Sony, for both of them. It is going to put a fire under their ass to figure something out. So I do believe eventually we're going to get something as far as that goes. All right, folks, we've gone for over an hour now. I've talked a whole lot about nothing, but I think it worked out relatively well. This was the show for Friday. I will definitely be back Saturday at 12 noon. Now, will I have a freshly installed version of Windows on my SSD? I don't know. I really don't know. Will I be on another computer doing my show on my backup shitty crappy computer that won't have all this nice OBS shit? I might have to for a day, because I got to figure out how to do this. I got to figure out how to get Windows 10 onto this and to do this whole thing. And I'm a little bit stressed out about this, but I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out somehow, some way. I got to bounce out of here, folks, though. Let me get out of here. Let me go ahead and grab my outro trailer. And it is the end of another episode. All right. Well, yeah, this has been VR game rankings. Be sure to go ahead and check out the website when you get an opportunity. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and definitely tell about 10,000 of your closest homies about this channel, and send me all of your PC parts. I need motherboards, I need CPUs, I need some thermal paste, I need it all, folks. Go ahead and send it my way. You know, I really do need like a post office box that I put on the screen and just say, send it to me, baby. Send me hard drives and all those things. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Take it easy. Later.